All right, welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is our trailer for The Way of Kings, Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings. We're going to be reading the back of the book as well as the prelude. Not the prologue, because there's a prelude and a prologue. Prologue's going to be next week, but we're doing the prelude in this trailer. I am Midnight, your host, and I'm here with Darkness.
Hi.
And Mythic.
Hello.
So first of all, I'm going to read you guys the back of the book. So it says, I long for the days before the last desolation, which is capitalized, before the heralds, capitalized, abandoned us, and the knights radiant, also capitalized, turned against us, when there was still magic in Roshar and honor in the hearts of men. In the end, not war but victory proved the greatest test. Did our foes see that the harder they fought, the fiercer our resistance? Fire and hammer forge a sword, time and neglect rusted away. So we won the world, yet lost it. Now there are four whom we watch: the surgeon, forced to forsake healing and fight in the most brutal war of our time; the assassin, who weeps as he kills; the liar, who wears her scholar's mantle over a thief's heart; and the prince, whose eyes open to the ancient past of his thirst for battle wanes. One of them may redeem us, one of them will destroy us. Speak again the hallowed oaths: life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. The knights radiant must stand again. So what do you think of these four people? The surgeon, the assassin, the liar, and the prince.
I like the assassin.
The assassin who weeps as he kills.
Yeah. He weeps because he can't get enough kills, you know? These all sound like...
Yeah, they really all sound really cool. I kind of like all of them.
I was going to say, they sound like mental disorders, but okay.
That too, but
also, what sort of story do you think this is going to be, just based on the back of the book so far?
A depressing one?
yeah, it definitely sounds like it's going to be a mental disorder thing.
I'm hoping, like, is there, like... They talk about war, and I'm hoping it's like an extended battlefield type of thing, but I doubt it, because we don't really get that.
Well, this is his epic fantasy series.
Wow, that tells me so much.
So we're going to go into the prelude. So basically, the prelude is the prelude to the whole book series. And then there's going to be...
What's a prelude? What's a prelude?
It's like a prologue. It's the prelude to the Stormlight Archive, and then next week we're going to start with the prologue to the book. Because there's the prologue to The Way of Kings, but the prelude to the Stormlight Archive. So this is the So this is the prelude to the Stormlight Archive. Kalak rounded a rocky stone ridge and stumbled to a stop before the body of a dying thunderclast. The enormous stone beast lay on its side, rib-like protrusions from its chest broken and cracked. The monstrosity was vaguely skeletal in shape, with unnaturally long limbs that sprouted from granite shoulders. The eyes were deep red spots on the arrowhead face, as if created by a fire burning deep within the stone. They faded. Even after all these centuries, seeing a thunderclast up close made Kalak shiver. The beast's hand was as long as a man was tall. He'd been killed by hands like those before, and it hadn't been pleasant. Of course, dying rarely was. He rounded the creature, picking his way more carefully across the battlefield. The plain was a place of misshapen rock and stone, natural pillars rising around him, bodies littering the ground. Few plants lived here. The stone ridges and mounds bore numerous scars. Some were shattered, blasted out sections where surge binders, capitalized, had fought. Less frequently, he had passed cracked, oddly shaped hollows, where thunderclasts had ripped themselves free of the stone to join the fray. Many of the bodies around him were human. Many were not. Blood mixed, red, orange, violet, though none of the bodies around him stirred. An indistinct haze of sounds hung in the air. Moans of pain, cries of grief. They did not seem like the sounds of victory. Smoke curled from the occasional patches of growth, or heaps of burning corpses. Even some sections of rock smoldered. The dust bringers, capitalized, had done their work well. But I survived, Kalak thought. Hand to breast as he hastened to the meeting place. I actually survived this time. That was dangerous. When he died, he was sent back. No choice. When he survived the desolation, he was supposed to go back as well. Back to that place that he dreaded. Back to that place of pain and fire. What if he just decided not to go? Perilous thoughts, perhaps traitorous thoughts. He hastened on his way. The place of meeting was in the shadow of a large rock formation, a spire rising into the sky. As always, the 10 of them had decided upon it before the battle. The survivors would make their way here. Oddly, only one of the others was waiting for him, Jezrien. Had the other 8 all died? It was possible. The battle had been so furious this time, One of the worst. The enemy was growing increasingly tenacious. But no, Kallak frowned as he stepped up to the base of the spire. 7 magnificent swords stood proudly here, driven point first into the stone ground. Each was a masterly work of art, flowing in design, inscribed with glyphs and patterns. He recognized each one. If their masters had died, the blades would have vanished. These blades were weapons of power beyond even shard blades. They were unique, precious. Jezrien stood outside the ring of swords, looking eastward. Jezrien? The figure in white and blue glanced toward him. Even after all these centuries, Jezrien looked young, like a man barely into his 30th year. His short black beard was neatly trimmed, though his once fine clothing was scorched and stained with blood. He folded his arms behind his back as he turned to Kallak. What is this, Jezrien? Where are the others? Kallak asked. Departed. Jezrien's voice was calm, deep, regal. Though he hadn't worn a crown in centuries, his royal manner lingered. He always seemed to know what to do. You might call it a miracle. Only one of us died this time. Talonel, Kallak said. He was the only blade unaccounted for. Yes, he died holding that passage by the northern waterway. Kallak nodded. Talon had a tendency to choose seemingly hopeless fights and win them. He also had a tendency to die in the process. He would be back now, in the place where they went between desolations, the place of nightmares. Kallak found himself shaking. When had he become so weak? Jezrien, I can't return this time, Kallak whispered the words, stepping up and gripping the other man's arm. I can't. Kallak felt something within him break at the admission. How long had it been? Centuries, perhaps millennia, of torture? It was so hard to keep track. Those fires, those hooks, digging into his flesh anew each day, searing the skin off his arm, then burning the fat, then driving it to the bone. He could smell it. Almighty, he could smell it. Leave your sword, Jezrien said. What? Jezrien nodded to the ring of weapons. I was chosen to wait for you. We weren't certain if you had survived. A decision has been made. It is time for the Oath Pact to end. Kallak felt a sharp stab of horror. What will they do? Ishar believes that so long as there is one of us still bound to the Oath Pact, it may be enough. There is a chance we might end the cycle of desolations. Kallak looked into the immortal king's eyes. Black smoke rose from a small patch to their left. Groans of the dying haunted them from behind. There, in Jezrien's eyes, Kallak saw anguish and grief, perhaps even cowardice. This was a man hanging from a cliff by a thread. Almighty above, Kallak thought. You're broken too, aren't you? They all were. Kallak turned and walked to the side, where a low ridge overlooked part of the battlefield. There were so many corpses, and among them walked the living. Men in primitive wraps carrying spears, topped by bronze heads. Juxtaposed between them were others in gleaming plate armor. One group walked past, 4 men in their ragged tanned skins or shoddy leather, joining a powerful figure in beautiful silver plate, amazingly intricate. Such a contrast. Jezrien stepped up beside him. They see us as divinities, Kallak whispered. They rely upon us, Jezrien. We're all that they have. They have the radiance. That will be enough. Kallak shook his head. He will not remain bound by this, the enemy. He will find a way around it. You know he will. Perhaps. The King of Heralds offered no further explanation. And Talon? Kallak asked. The flesh burning, the fires, the pain over and over and over. Better that one man should suffer than 10, Jezrien whispered. He seemed so cold, like a shadow caused by heat and lightning falling on someone honorable and true, casting this black imitation behind it. Jezrien walked back to the ring of swords. His own blade formed in his hands, appearing from mist, wet with condensation. It has been decided, Kallak. We will go our ways, and we will not seek out one another. Our blades must be left. The Oath Pact ends now. He lifted his sword and rammed it into the stone with the other 7. Jezrien hesitated, looking at the sword, then bowed his head and turned away, as if ashamed. We chose this burden willingly. Well, we can choose to drop it if we wish. What do we tell the people, Jezrien? Kallak asked. What will we say of this day? It's simple, Jezrien said, walking away. We tell them that they finally won. It's an easy enough lie. Who knows? Maybe it will turn out to be true. Kallak watched Jezrien depart across the burned landscape. Finally he summoned his own blade and slammed it into the stone behind the other 8. He turned and walked in the direction opposite of Jezrien. And yet he could not help glancing back at the ring of swords and the single open spot, the place where the 10th sword should have gone, the one of them who was lost, the one they had abandoned. Forgive us, Kallak thought, then left. And that is the prelude. So there's lots of information in this little prelude. So first of all, we got mentions of Thunderclass, which are some sort of stone-based creature. do you think they're somehow natural to this land, or do you think there's some sort of like investiture-based creature?
I think it's investiture based.
Yeah. Also, when they were describing it, I imagine like, um, you know the AT walkers from Star Wars,
Oh god.
like
Yeah.
that, but organic and like with rocks.
Also, what do you think about the fact that Kalak and these others have died before, and they're apparently like centuries, if not millennia, old?
Okay, but like, is that anything new?
We've seen people
Kelsey.
die and come back, or anything in fucking or not Mistborn, Warbreaker. All the people who died and came back.
No, that's crazy. Also, it sounds like they're describing hell, which is like,
Also, what do you think about the fact that they were fighting people, but also not people? Because they mentioned that there's not just red blood, but also orange and violet blood.
ew. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't judge people by their blood, right?
Yeah, right. Don't judge a book by its cover, or the way it bleeds.
I don't know if it should bleed, but
I mean, if it's a mimic, it will.
Also, what do you
Okay.
think a desolation is? Because they talk about like this being a desolation, and they talk about like they go to that other place when they die between desolations.
What if it's like, wait, repeat it?
So what do you think a desolation is? Because they mentioned desolations and how like between desolations is when they're like dead, and then they come back for each desolation. And then when the desolation's over, they go back to the place of fire and pain again. So what do you think like a
Hell.
desolation is?
Right.
So desolation
That's
is the
hell.
place they go to. Desolation is the thing that's happening currently that just ended.
No, but like he's saying like
It's hell.
it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
a place of fire.
It's not
hell.
called hell. They have a name for it, which they'll bring up later in the book. But
But it's hell. Got it.
it's basically hell. Yes.
Yeah. Hellfire. Got it.
I have so much fun telling people to go to hell in that.
I bet they do. Except they'll say whatever the actual name is, Go to this place.
It's
You're
the
gonna pass
process
Thunderclast.
between.
Whoa,
Like-
that thing's cool as shit.
That's a league character.
You're not wrong. It does kind of look like a lead character.
It's kind of cool actually. What the fuck? You think he's single? The silencer. Fuck. What was I saying? What's it called? The desolation. Or
Desolation.
whatever? That's like when they're already dead, right?
No, that's when they're alive. They come back for the
Okay.
desolations.
Ah, fucking never. Maybe it's the process of what's bringing them back.
Also, what do you think that this oath pact is that they're breaking, and how is it holding back the enemy?
Ask it one more time.
What do you think that this oath pact is, and what is it about? I can't speak. Oh my god. What is it about it that is keeping this enemy back that they talk about?
Maybe it's like an Avengers situation. Like they're the heroes made to stop it, but if they like disassemble, it's going to hell.
Mm.
Literally.
You think it's kind of like with our powers combined, we can hold back this?
Yeah,
Thing
like a
that,
little
like,
Power
the
Ranger
villains can't.
squad.
Yeah, probably, to be honest.
Also, what do you think about them leaving the one guy to be tortured while the rest of them stay alive?
Maybe it's something they had to do, like what if is this like do we know where he got left behind? Is it like
So
the
he
hell
died.
place?
So he's in hell, the hell place now. Yes.
So like what if only like 9 of them can come back and one of them has to stay behind?
Well, it sounds like all
like-
of them always come back, and
Okay, but,
usually
like,
they're all
what
supposed
if-
to die and go back to there.
What if this time they had to like leave him behind in order to be able to come back?
Well, because they're not dead, so they seem guilty about it. They feel guilty that they're leaving this one guy to do this by himself, and by not going back, they are breaking the oath pact.
But like, oh, maybe he didn't want to break it, and they did.
You
Cool.
have any- You have any thoughts, Mythic, about that?
I mean, I kind of agree. It sounds like they made a deal. Now they're unintentionally going back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, to their,
preservation.
right?
Also, what do you think
Um,
about the fact that they're gonna lie to the rest of the world about the fact that they've won this war?
I mean,
They
that
did
sounds a
win.
lot like anything. Yeah, like almost every fucking book we've read now. People lying to other people thinking that it's going to help somehow.
Also, just so you know, after this prelude, the prologue starts 4,500 years later. So this was 4,500 years ago from the book.
That's not what I expected.
Yes.
No, not at all.
There's a time skip of 4,500 years.
They'll be fine. He'll grow a little bit older, but that's about it.
Do you think these heralds are still going to be alive, considering they've apparently already been alive for like centuries and stuff? Do you think they're just like
Well, one of
immortal?
them is, and is probably gonna escape, considering that he's been stuck in hell for like eternity.
You think he's still stuck in there?
Yeah, for sure. Who the fuck is gonna get him out? The Oathbreakers? Like,
They already broke their oath.
Or Oathbreaker
Damn.
paladins?
I mean, have you tried that in BG3? It's pretty
Not
fun.
yet.
well, Midnight.
Oh, you kind of have Gale, yeah.
Wait, Gale is a paladin?
So
Gale is a wizard, paladin, warlock, like
sorcerer,
cleric,
cleric.
monk.
Fuck.
We
Why?
have him every single class every time he levels up.
Oh my god.
He's gonna be the god of everything.
Jesus.
That too.
Yeah.
So that's our little intro to the Way of Kings. We are going to be reading 4 chapters next time. We're going to be reading the prologue through chapter 3 next week. The prologue is super intense, and then we kind of slowly start into the proper story. Just like all the prologues are always super high action. Get a little sneak peek at the magic system. Do you have any ideas for what shards might be on this planet? Shard or shards?
Is it a... Okay, can I ask the question? Is it a shard we already know of, or is it a new shard?
Thanks, Midnight. That was a wonderful answer.
Spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Because there's
But,
only,
like,
I think there's
how am
only,
I supposed to guess? Wait, how am I supposed to guess a name of something that I possibly
Right.
don't just know? Like, what? Like, the
Well,
only reason to ask that question would be to have already been told the god's name previously,
I was just
and
wondering
then
if
we
you had
could
any
guess.
ideas.
Do we know the
Types of
name,
shards.
Midnight?
But you only know, like, don't you guys only know one that hasn't already been put to a planet? So, like, that would be kind of giving away
So what? It's Odium?
if it is or not. Oh, no, I guess you have Odium and Cultivation, so you know 2.
Yeah.
But still, that's only 2. Like, it's kind of
So it's one of those.
giving it away. If I say, if you know this
Midnight's
one.
like slowly fading away.
Well, just ignore my question, it's fine.
Well, then, since she didn't think of Odium, then it's cultivation, right?
Yeah, probably. It's probably cultivation, honestly, because it's apparently spoilers to know if it was if we've already heard about them. So I'm assuming it's cultivation.
Do you think there's just going to be the one, or do you think there's going to be multiple shards?
2.
There's going to be 2? Another 2?
Always two.
It's not always 2.
There's always 2
Warbreaker only had 1.
I
that
want
we
them
knew
to be
of.
lovers.
It's definitely
That we knew of.
There's only 1 on Nalthis.
That we know of.
Yeah, so we're back to
What if
multiple main characters, though, again. Which is exciting.
what if the one on Nalthis is like a split personality one?
You think Endowment's a split personality?
You never know, bro. Because you
What
have.
what if endowment is already like the shards put together?
Oh, you're right.
Like
What if
Say's-
it's like Harmony or whatever his name is?
I will never call them Harmony. It will always be Sayist or Hope. Hope is the other.
No, Hope was Kelsey.
I
You
am
were saying
Hope,
saying
yeah.
balance.
No. He is. Oh yeah, you're right. It was balanced. Not
I
Hope.
was like,
You're
what are
right.
you talking
I'm
about?
thinking of.
Kelsey
I'm thinking
or
of the
Hope.
god. I'm thinking of Kelsey or the god. Yeah, gotcha.
Also, I think this might be the first book where all of the chapters actually have names.
What?
All these chapters have names to them. And they also, I told this to Darkness, I think, while you were gone, but they also all have epigraphs again. I think. Back to
Yay!
No,
More-
not yay.
the epigraphs.
More epigraphs.
More epigraphs.
Look, epigraph.
I'm so happy.
Epigraphs are good. They give little interesting bits of information.
Who's writing them?
In world characters.
Yep, and I'm sure I'll hear a
Multiple?
voice. I'll hear the voice of the person reading the epigraph, and I'll realize who is actually in the character.
Right.
Got it.
You know what?
Also, just because Darkness is reading and not listening, any character with a J name starting with a J, their name is pronounced like a Y. Like Yezrien starts with a J.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if I go to listen to this book, and it's not like that.
No, it is, because I got like me and like a bunch of people on Reddit, like you can tell when people have listened to the audiobook versus read the book, because like the people who have read the book spell the name correctly but generally pronounce it wrong, and the people who have listened to the book spell the names wrong but generally get like the pronunciation right.
I hope she's wrong.
I'm not wrong. Anyways, yeah, 4 chapters. Thank you guys all so much for listening.
Been wrong before, so.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.